You're listening to Mark of the Maker. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Steiner and you're listening to Mark of the Maker, and this is episode 39 of the show. This is going to be our kickoff for season 3 of Mark of the Maker, and this one's going to be sort of a 2019 wrap-up, 2020 kickoff, season 3 kickoff. I don't know. It's some combination of all that stuff. We're going to talk about some cool stuff that we saw and recognized as interesting trends or things or stuff that happened or items or whatever from 2019. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what we think is happening in 2020 or things we're looking forward to, that sort of stuff. So that's what episode 39 is all about. So let's make sure we got our whole crew here with us. Mr. Michael Birch, you feeling better today, buddy?
I am here and better.
We tried to record this episode the other day, and Michael was froggy, and then we had some technical problems, so he sounded much more healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Froggy and sassy.
He was very sassy. I hope he's in a better mood.
I don't. Controversy sales.
Sean says, bring it. We got to up our numbers.
Yeah.
As evidence, we have Mr. Sean Kendrick.
Present and accounted for.
All right, and Mr. Tom Crine.
I'm here.
Tom's back in the saddle, baby.
Yeah. It's good to be back.
He stepped out for a minute, and he's been out for the last couple, the mini and the full, and he's back with us. So glad you could join us, Tom.
Thanks, man.
All right. So as we were getting started, we were talking about what everybody had going on this week. It sounded like Sean was doing some time out in the shop. Tom, you made a post this morning about what you had going on. What were you doing today? I saw your daily post today.
We just started putting some more knives together. We had first knives that are going to be logoed 2020.
Nice.
We're still wrapping up some other knives that are 2019, but the first batch that will be 2020 are going to be done tomorrow, I think. So
wow,
fun.
Yeah, and it's early in January, so
yeah,
this will come out a little bit later, but this is early in January when we're recording it.
Yeah.
All right, Michael. I was going to say you were doing some shopping, but you weren't shopping yet, right?
No, I need to shop. I'm just making a list of all the stuff I got to buy. Working up designs for TKI, getting ready. It's been a lot of staring at stuff, seeing what I can make work. Cleaned up the shop a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be here.
I know. I even cleaned it and moved some stuff around so I can pace around one of my workbenches.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a good thinking pace.
So you're making a list of like resupply on shop supply stuff or materials or both?
Both. Stuff I know I need for TKI that I probably should have bought before, and stuff I just need in general. You know, it gets long when it comes to CNC stuff, all the end mills and all that crap.
All right. Well, Bert's got lots going on over there, so let's get into what we're going to talk about. So let's talk about some stuff that we saw. It could be stuff like trends, could be stuff like cool things, like specific things, or it could be, I don't know, cool people, whatever. Some things that you saw happen in 2019 that you thought were noteworthy, good, bad, or otherwise. So, Michael, you want to take a swing at the first one?
It seems like we saw a lot more of the micro brand sort of stuff this year. And they've been building up and building up. It's that sort of overseas made, kind of American sold micro brand type of thing that's getting very cloudy, very murky out there, it seems like. And it seems to me like it'd be harder for customers to find, like, you know, a knife. There's so many choices now and so many new businesses coming onto the market.
You're talking about stuff like where there's a brand, but the product is built by somebody else.
Yeah, like a sub brand or like a second party brand sort of thing. I'm sure there's a name for it, a technical term. But yeah, you see a lot of it. And there's some trusted ones and some cool ones that have been around for a little bit, but there's definitely, you know, you go on Instagram, you'll find, you know, just a name you've never heard of and selling a lot of knives in that, you know, 300 to 400 or whatever marketplace, you know, or that price
not
tag.
Cheap.
No. And some are, you know, 150 or 200, but still for, someone you've never heard of, that this is all good money to send to someone you don't know anything about besides, an internet or, social media presence.
Yeah, it's interesting, Michael. This was actually, I've got a list of things because we didn't talk about it beforehand, and this was actually the number one thing on my list was proliferation of like the Chinese made knives, and with the micro branding, I guess that throws in Italy too, and some of the other companies.
Well, but, it's good and bad. It's great for having variety for the customers. It's bad because you don't know where, what the warranty issue. You don't know with a lot of new companies how they're going to, the longevity. It's great to have a cool knife that works well, but if the company goes away, what happens then?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how many there are and how good they are too. It'll be an interesting thing to see if it keeps growing or, if we plateaued, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of that is coming out of the same factories. The good thing is you're getting good knives because I think a lot of these are coming from the same place. But
for sure,
it's going to be fun to watch. And this was definitely like the mid-tech explosion some years back. This is kind of the semi-production, whatever, micro production version of that going on right now.
Right. And, modern day version of that movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and interestingly, they're similarly priced too. When the mid tech thing kind of took out.
Yeah,
it's an interesting trend for sure.
It definitely kind of swept in and took over that spot. It was a gray knife type of thing over and over, and then these things came in and they were made very well, made very, with a lot more features for the price versus, what you can give the mid-tech. It's kind of crazy, how far that stuff's come.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like lots of other consumer products, right? Like you said, where there's like, there aren't a bunch of different places where this stuff gets made, right? No. It's kind of like panels for TVs or displays in computers, right? There's like 3 factories that make all the displays, the panels, right? So in this case, we're talking companies like We or Riyadh or whoever who's kind of behind the scenes, sometimes doing their own thing directly with makers, and sometimes with these sort of middleman brands where I think the person or a group of people that are involved are dealing with the production aspect of it and scheduling and all that planning and all that kind of stuff, right? And sometimes, in many cases, I guess, working with makers to make a production version of their knife happen when maybe they're either unsure about or don't have the time to do that legwork. There's kind of examples on all sides.
Oh yeah, that's one of the cool things is seeing a lot of knife maker buddies getting this done and making some money. Because it's not knife making's not a get rich quick sort of scheme, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see.
No,
wait, what?
And like I've talked about in here,
Tom, you got to send all that money back.
I've been working on doing one too, and it's kind of dumb not to.
Yeah.
I dragged my feet for a long time on it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a market for it and you can do it in a way that doesn't hurt your custom brand, then I think it makes sense, right? I think there's examples where people have taken a unique and specific design and done it, and I know that's what you've been kind of talking about doing. I've seen other cases where someone takes an existing pattern or design and has it done, and I'm not sure that's always the smartest way to go, just because, my opinion anyway, it seems like it's bad for the model, you know what I mean, your custom model that now there's a production clone of out there. That doesn't seem smart to me, but lots of guys are doing that too, and with good success, right? But
some of that scares the shit out of me when it looks exactly like or better than the custom. You're like, ooh,
that's where it gets.
It's a solid oof right there.
Yeah,
but I designed something different and sent it off, but I was like, ah, shit. It was harder than I thought because after I designed it, I was like, well, I want to make that now, but I can't. It's
right. That's mine.
Yeah. But I guess that's what you got to do.
Part of the deal, right? You got to let that baby go sometimes.
Yeah. If I didn't like it, then it wouldn't have been it'd been a shit knife. So it kind of makes sense.
So that's something you're trying to make happen this year.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's definitely getting worked on, but it's a chunk of change. I see why so many the makers have gone through dealers or other avenues to get this paid for, to kind of have a third party involved. I definitely see why, because it can be very expensive to outsource this work. And that's, what's that?
You got to pay to play.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of folks that collaborate, just do the collaboration where it's kind of a riad or we and whatnot. But to actually have it made for you, it's going to be pricey.
Well, and I think for, like you said, the cost it's not trivial, right? Like new machine kind of money. And so it's substantial and painful probably. And hopefully, but the expectation on the back end is that it's going to work out significantly well, right?
Oh yeah. No, it's, it kind of sucks because I was looking into getting, a new machine this year, to kind of, you're always trying to invest back into the shop, back into your whatever. And I was looking at all sorts of fun stuff. And then it's like, nope, I'm going to be paying for this knife.
Right.
But the knives will actually pay back faster than a new machine will. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully, if you make money and you can buy the new machine easily.
Oh, yeah.
Tom, you're supposed to say definitely.
Well, ain't nothing easy in life, it seems like. There's nothing that's for sure I've found.
Yeah, right. No, it's fair.
Well, I mean, if I was betting on the odds, I'd bet on it. But
yeah.
I've done that for myself, too, and it hasn't worked.
Ask me how I know, he said.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's a very interesting trend, and it's one that's been blowing up for a long time, right? I mean, it's a new thing in 19, but because I think we saw maybe a further explosion, maybe is a better way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like those didn't exist in 2018 or 17, but there's a lot of them now, right? There's a lot of supply in the market.
Yeah, but it appears that there's been a lot of demand. It's it is kind of crazy how many knives are being sold right now in today's market. It's amazing. And I sit back and worry about making more of 5 knives, and I'm like, oh, it's too many. I'm saturating my market, and you see, makers are busting out. Yeah,
me too.
People are making 5 a week and stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Tom's like, 5 a week? Shit, I quit.
Yeah. Nice work, pansy.
Maybe 5 before lunch, sucker.
Yeah.
I think it also has created this interesting thing where there's people that collect specifically that type of knife, right? There's like this new middle tier, maybe more than one, right? Where there's like these are knives that are in like the Sebenza kind of money price range, right? That used to be the gateway. We've talked about that before, right? The gateway to custom knives. And now there are lots and lots and lots of people that collect those things because, the companies are smart. They'll do limited runs and other stuff to kind of make them a little bit more exclusive. But that's very interesting to see too, this creation of this additional tier of product in the marketplace.
Well, I hate to say it, but there's like some of these knives that are being made are what could have been an open bid knife 5 or 6 years ago from a custom maker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
They are the price of entry, relatively speaking to custom knives, stuff like that, is fairly cheap, and you're getting the cool materials, the great action. It is mind blowing and scary at the same time. What the manufacturing, what they're able to do, and it's been fun to watch. And like you're talking about, there's like a whole different sect of collectors. I mean, even the Knife Nuts podcast. I mean, I don't want to offend them or whatever, but it seems like they talk more about that area of knives.
That's absolutely what they talk about. And I think because there's such a broad market for it.
Exactly.
Well, and there's it seems like a lot of these kind of micro brands are picking up some of the newer, younger designers. So some of their designs are really cool too. I mean, they're putting out some crazy stuff.
Yeah, the limitations of what used to be or what we thought had to be done or have disappeared, which is once again, good and bad. It's kind of like you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. The price you pay with that sort of idea is exposed detents, because the rules have kind of been thrown out the window of what's feasible and what's doable with the machining capabilities of these guys. But you also get some of the weird design elements that could be either radically cool or kind of radically bad in the same vein. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, along with all of that, there's like this whole additional slice of the market where there are people that design knives but don't make knives, right?
Yeah.
And that has existed for a long time, but they were usually people that design knives that had to go work with a custom maker at least a few times around the block until they had become established, and then maybe they'd work with a production company. But that was always like the next step, right? Like the graduation from working with custom makers to get knives made was, hey, getting a factory deal kind of thing. And now with this additional capacity for very high quality production knives, it's kind of created this interesting thing where there's designers and some of these guys have never made a knife. Some of them may have made a few, and the products that are coming out the other side are high quality, and some of the designs are excellent.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, Elijah Isham's the guy that does that. I know you know him, Sean. His designs are beautiful. He does great work.
Yeah. He does awesome stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's outside the box.
Exactly.
I don't think he has limitations that equipment and having to make it himself have put on him.
Right.
Yeah,
I was just going to mention that, Sean, because a lot of us design around the tools that we're using, and that does put limitations on design.
Yes,
that
they
is
do.
Right.
That is the point I was trying to make earlier, but I could not word it around that. Exactly. There's no limitations. They get to do what they want, and then they get sent it to the company and be like, "Can you make this work or not?" And they either can or can't. And it seems like most of the time they can.
Yeah, there's some crazy looking stuff, right? Super wild looking composite frames and multi-piece assemblies that are, pieced together in very, very interesting, creative ways. And it's a great example of, to Sean's point, not having to necessarily play by the same rules, right?
Yeah. Well, I think also with like the explosion of some of this, great CAD, like Fusion 360 and stuff is very cheap. I mean, you get to trial and check it out for a while, and it's pretty intuitive as far as, drawing and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot more of that accessible to anybody and everybody, especially in this kind of resurgence of manufacturing with 3D printing and all this stuff. You've got these better CAD programs, 3D modeling and all this stuff that they can play with that and send it off. It's not just like, oh, here's a napkin drawing. Here you go. Here's something that could possibly work, or at least has the look that they want.
Yeah, definitely lots of interesting tools that are accessible, and capabilities to be able to produce stuff kind of creates this perfect storm of a bunch of products, and it's definitely an interesting thing to see. So what about you, Sean? What's a cool thing that you saw or trend or whatever from 2019?
And just more laminates, more good laminates, more handle materials that I want to use. I came upon more new handle materials this year than I have any other year past. And that makes me a happy camper. It lets me build the horde.
What's some of your favorites?
Man, I like the fat carbon stuff. I really haven't had a chance to finish any out, but my initial impressions from cutting it and drilling it, it's good stuff, man. I mean, just super dense, really clean. I got nothing bad to say about it. And the guys' patterns are fantastic. I mean, some of them are wild, some of them are out there, and I don't know if I can use them, but there's plenty of them that, I can make very good use of.
Yeah, some are pretty wild, and I don't know if I can pull them off yet, but I have some. Jerry McGinnis did some inlay work with his, and it looked really good that way, kind of detail stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think a small dose, but I think some of it is a little bit much as a full scale. But I don't know. Some people pull it off and it looks good.
I've used quite a bit of it. I really like it. I did buy some of the like brass and carbon fiber raindrop stuff, and I'm with you. I don't know how I'm going to use it. It's a cool looking piece of material, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, finding what it works with.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's beautiful though. And the stuff I've used, like Sean said, it's super easy to machine, solid, really nice material to work with. Good stuff.
But the thing is, I think we get
Sean go ahead, Michael.
No, I was just going to say is I think sometimes we get in our own head because there's probably a guy that's like would love to have that bronze stuff you were just talking about, but we're like, oh, I can't pull it off. And someone's probably like, well, it's not about you pulling it off. It's about me the customer being able to pull it off.
Right. Yeah.
I just like the idea of somebody sitting there going, that's the son of a bitch who got the last piece. Damn you, Tom Crine.
Just hold on to it.
I'm never even going to use it. Ha ha.
Exactly.
Also, I would destroy it before I resell it.
Yes.
Well, we get this idea in our head that it's like, it has to be a perfect knife for us. But it's like, I don't know. It's not like Mr. JCPenney wears every single set of clothes that they make or whatever the hell. It has to go to the customer. And they're the only ones that really need to be happy with it. But I'm real good about getting in my own head. It's too fancy. It looks too flashy.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, with me, it usually ain't a matter of too fancy or too flashy. That all has its place. It's a matter of, does it work with my aesthetic? Does it work with the lines on my knife? Is it too busy? Does it look like a fucking, somebody drank paint and then vomited it in on my knife?
Yeah. There's some stuff that looks like a clown was ran over, by a semi truck. I don't like.
Yeah, and then
like
it spun out to make sure the son of a bitch was dead.
Yeah, a lot of pattern meshing I don't like. You got straight lines here and curves here, and that I don't like.
Sean, have you used any of Geo Hansen's or what used to be Unique Micarta?
Yeah. Actually, I took a knife to Kentucky that had some of his double black rag micarta, and I was really happy with it. And story about that, the first piece he sent me, I got it split down and I got it thinned down to, folder scale thickness, and it was just voidy as hell. I mean, not quite Swiss cheese, but it was ate up. And I called him. He was on the ball with getting me squared away. He did a fresh new pressing of the material, completely redid it, sent it to me. I think my downtime from it was maybe 5 or 6 days. I mean, he was just really on it, and he got me the product. I did the same thing, split it, thinned it down, and it was beautiful. Dense, perfect, what you would want from a good laminate.
Yeah. I've used quite a bit of his stuff, and I really like it. It's he's got some pretty creative stuff, really unique, and even his plain just the cross-cut colored stuff is pretty good. So I've used quite a bit of it, and I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got so many options. If you're a color dude, man, his color selection is crazy.
Is that what that Brian Keith has, the double black?
Yeah.
Is that piece? Okay.
Yes, that is.
I was looking at that knife and I couldn't figure out what the handle material was. That looks really good.
Man, it's good stuff. And it can look two ways. You leave it dried out, all of the rag pattern really shows. You wet it down, and then it's black with black rag pattern that you really got to look for, but it looks killer.
And you say it's really dense?
Yeah, it was very nice.
That's cool.
I am writing that down.
Some of the stuff I've worked with it's not as dense as like Westinghouse or regular store-bought micarta. Some of that stuff, when you work it, it's kind of fuzzy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But when you get to the higher grip belts, it all goes away and it finishes out nice. So, the finished product is great. Sometimes I hate working it just because it is a little fuzzier than some of the other stuff, but finished product's great.
Well, it's really cool, to your point, Sean, that he was super responsive to your concern, right? I mean,
yeah, hell yeah.
It's not always that way.
No.
With every supplier.
So is the guy at Fat Carbon, super responsive too. So
is that right?
Both those guys, I give thumbs up.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that trend has happened, or that market is expanding. Maybe it's not surprising given the sheer number of knives out there, right? And in our earlier conversation about the massive increase in the number of makers and production companies and other stuff, maybe it makes sense that there's a big space for new material people to step in. But
I think it also has to do with the comeback of the vintage Micarta. Micarta's cool. For quite a while it wasn't,
Yeah, we hit that bad time of twill, the twill period. Some sad times in knife making history. But we're back. We are back.
Silver twill.
As long as it's not Packawood.
The rise and fall of silver twill.
Man, I still hold that I make silver twill look good.
There's it.
What's the hate with Packawood, man? I know you have at least one fondly loved knife with Packawood.
I do love that knife. And I hate that you make me love it.
Did you see what he got for that on eBay, man? That shit went for big money. Ultra rare Tom Crine Packawood.
That stuff's expensive, man. I just bought some more of it, and it's crazy. It's more expensive than like Micarta or G10. It's stupid.
Hey, when you whip the market into a frenzy over it, that's what happens, man.
Only the best for TKI, man.
Takes a lot of money.
Whatever
to glue those skateboards together to make that stuff.
Tom's gonna walk in there in a plaid leisure suit with a table full of Packawood at TKI. It's gonna be beautiful.
It would I probably wouldn't get invited again, but that would be. What if you could make Packawood cool?
Well, what if you could make Packawood cool, Tom? That's a great question. Based on the pricing, it sounds like you may have already done it to yourself, pal.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to answer that. What if you made it cool? I mean, it's an unanswerable question. It's not gonna be.
Hey,
just being hurtful.
My Tom Crine custom with the Packawood handles is a beautiful, beautiful little knife.
Okay,
mine too.
That is a cool little knife. It is so much better than the epoxy resin stuff. I will give you that.
Reconstituted pine cone you're talking about?
Yeah.
Where are we at on that?
Whatever someone...
Or corn cob.
Corn cob,
yeah.
Whatever you found in the shop, you just twirl around in some epoxy and add some glitter and call it a handle. Is some strange stuff. And I don't know, maybe there's some cool stuff, out there, or some guys making some cool pieces out of it, but I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah. You know what they call that, Michael? A lack of vision.
I think so. I try not to be hateful or whatever, but I dislike that very much.
Oh, you're doing a bad job.
Yeah, that exposed.
We don't even try anymore. we say that, but I mean, you have to say that.
Yeah,
right.
But yeah, we hate it.
Yeah, oh yeah, and exposed detent tracks.
It's probably time to change the subject.
What about
this is one of the.
Hold on now. What about the MVP of the materials of 2019?
Oh,
Rich Light.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
it wins my favorite of the year. It's not expensive.
Yeah,
it's cheap, and it looks cool. That's two things that don't happen very often.
The finish is great.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen, and people like it. Usually they don't like it unless it has this high price tag.
Yeah,
people do like it. That little Tanto that I got from you with the black handles on it in New York, that thing is cool looking.
It has a grain.
It has a grain, but it's also like a void, right? Like it's cool. It's a good looking material. It's very interesting. For being extremely plain, it looks really cool.
Yeah, I like it.
That was a backhanded compliment. Not sure.
For being super plain, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's basic bitch shit. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant to say, Sean.
That's what women used to say about my looks.
We had the Sean translator.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we may have do we have a Rich Light Sean Kendrick around here? I think so too. I think Amy's got one. I think hers is Rich Light. I don't remember.
No, hers is some old ass green linen.
Oh, is it? Yeah,
you might be right. Was new manufactured when I got it.
Was it really?
Yeah. And now it's vintage. That's how long I've had it.
That's awesome. Green linen is probably one of my all-time favorite materials.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is like green linen that's been sitting in an oily shop floor for a long time looking kind of green linen. It's got a very cool, like you said, very vintage look to it.
It is patinated.
It looks like you carried it. Patinated.
Really dark.
Yes. It is, yeah. Yep.
The only problem with it is every once in a while you get like this weird stripe in it, like a a lighter stripe that would drive me crazy with that green linen. Has that ever happened to you guys?
I
ain't had that happen.
I haven't had that happen.
Maybe it only happened to me like once, and I just quit using it after that.
I have had a weird sheet of phenolic of all sorts of different stuff from time to time.
Yeah.
I got some black canvas that was it just sucked. I don't know why, but
brown?
I ended up throwing the whole sheet away.
I've got something that looked brown.
And it was like chalky inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gross.
It was like weird colored and soft and fuzzy, and I just threw it all away.
Sean, you've been using some paper kind of stuff, right? That's a little bit rich light-ish. What's that called? I can't remember the name of it.
Well, I haven't used it yet. I just got the samples last week, but it's called Paper Stone. And from what I can tell, it's very similar to Rich Light. I believe it may be at least partial recycled content. And it's not supposed to be quite as health hazardous from a fumes and whatnot standpoint.
Okay.
I mean, of course, it's still a powder hazard. I mean, you can't breathe in that powdery shit and expect to be okay.
Yeah. Can't get as high.
I'm not saying don't work it without a mask. Caveat, bitches.
So is it like a shredded paper kind of stuff?
Man, I'm not sure.
Like where they broke down the fibers or something?
I'd have to hit them up and ask. I mean, from what I've seen with the samples they gave me, it looks like every other micarta I've used. I mean, but it's really dense. It feels really hard. I haven't cut any yet, but I'm assuming that it'll cut pretty much like any other paper laminate, you know? I mean, it may have different resin. It may have a couple cool qualities, but at the end of the day, it's a fucking paper laminate.
Right. Now it sounds cool.
Yeah.
You posted a picture of the pieces that you got, right? The samples.
They sent me, let's see, some gunmetal, which is like a dark gray, and then some slate, which is black, and this Cabernet, which is kind of a burgundy maroonish kind of color.
That's the one. Yeah, that's pretty stuff. I think that's going to look nice all done up.
That Cabernet.
Yeah, the Cabernet looked fantastic. It looked like a very luxuriant material.
Ooh.
Birch sounded like he's ordering dinner down there in Branson. I have some of that Cabernet.
Do you enjoy luxury?
Fancy.
Right.
And driving Jaguars?
I want to hear Shade deliver the Jaguar. I bet he's got a good.
Oh, he'd do it.
He's got that killer British accent. We heard it. All right. So 2019, you know, one of the things I noticed in 2019 was this, make fixed blades great again kind of thing. Like there's a lot of people making fixed blades in 2019. Yeah. Are they making a comeback, or is it just me, or is it the makers I'm watching? I know Birch, you made some. I think Sean, you're probably going to make some this coming year. It seems like there's maybe a little resurgence going on.
There has been
100%. I agree. I like it too.
I can believe that.
I don't know. I think for sure there has been, Mark. I see a lot more people making them. We've been making them the whole time, but I see a lot of cool small stuff out there.
Yeah, it seems like it. Like somehow it's okay again, right? It was sort of like a thing where for a while, once you went from being a fixed blade maker to being a folder maker, once you made that kind of transition in that direction, people didn't bother making fixed blades because nobody wanted fixed blades. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Either that or makers are just making them because they want to and people will buy them, so they get to play a little bit. I don't know. I mean, that's a little bit your situation, right, Michael?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that played into it. I think one, with social media and Instagram, there's a lot of guys that started up and then started selling fixed blades, small fixed blades, because it's one of the first things you make when you're starting out. And I think there's been so many of them that it became kind of popular to have them. And I think also we're at this kind of, a spot where the tactical knives, EDC knives, whatever, have been, done over and over and over, that people just kind of wanted something different, and fixed blades are different now. They're not the norm. Right. So, when you're taking your little, or your Instagram shot or something, if you got something that looks different, like, the slip joints and the things like that versus, a regular air quotes, EDC knife, people are like, ooh, what's that? It's different. And it's more affordable.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, I think that plays into it for sure, Michael. I think there's a couple things. One, we figured out how to carry these smaller knives similar to a folder. So like we've talked about, Mark, before, you had one option. You put it on your belt and you had your 4-inch or 5-inch knife and you walked around and felt like a redneck in town. But now with the pocket sheaths and the cool clips we've got, you can easily put a 3-inch bladed knife down in your pocket with a Mummert clip or an Ulti clip, and it carries fine,
Yeah.
I think as more people carry that, they realize that, hey, this is very functional. It works great. And I can, I can have a custom handmade piece and play in that game without having to spend $1,000 on a folder.
Right.
And it's, you can have 3 or 4 nice pieces for the price of one.
Yeah. There's the price point thing. And like you said, the fact that there are lots more carry options is a big deal, right? I mean, I had this John Graham little, what he calls a Wii, is a little tiny fixed blade. And when I first got that thing, I didn't understand the sheath because it had a funky looking clip on it. And it was his tail clip, like he uses on his folders, where the clip goes down the side. It almost looks like a super beefy paper clip almost looking kind of thing. And man, you drop that little Wii with this tail clip sheath. It's a nice little leather sheath, and it's contoured real nice, so it goes right into your pocket. You can see the very tip of the handle, and that's it. Like, you can see a lot less of the handle than you can see on a lot of folders. And
it works great.
Yeah, it's discreet carry, and it's a stout little guy. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And I think people are starting to see more and more of that, and the options are getting better for that stuff.
And I agree. You said what you said right there. Every day of the week, a fixed blade is going to be a harder use knife than a folder. There's no lock to fail. There's less moving parts. There's no pivot, any of that stuff. So yeah, those 3 things I think have really brought fixed blades back. So good call.
Well,
Well, from a maker's standpoint, you don't have the limitation of, is this going to fold right? Is this all going to work?
Right.
You're just limited by how big a piece of steel you got, just about.
Right.
Yeah. And what you see is what you get. There's no, how does the action work? How does this, and these very subjective type of ideas of what people like or not. You see, this is what it is. This is what you're going to get, which is a nice thing to be able to buy online. And I think people are kind of coming back around to some natural materials, like some of the woods and stuff again. And, that's really where it looks the best, is on a cool ass fixed blade, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the something different thing is definitely a piece of it, right? I mean, I've bought probably 5 times as many fixed blades in the last 2 years as I have folders.
Yeah.
Which is really weird for me because I haven't bought that many fixed blades. I mean, I bought a few early on, and then I figured out I couldn't really carry them very easily, and that was it. And then I got that little Graham fixed blade along the way, and there weren't a lot of other options like that. So I never really went much of anywhere. But I mean, some of it's Mark of the Maker effect, right?
Yeah.
We talk about a bunch of stuff, and I end up buying a bunch of Randalls and the Jan Haffenick knife and the David Sharp Big Bear. So over the last 2 years, of way more fixed blades for me than folders, and they're a joy, right? I mean, I can't carry a big bear like I can a little folder, but boy, I certainly enjoy it, and they're beautifully made. And
what an epic collection,
Yeah, I don't carry half the shit I have just because I don't have, I'm not going anywhere, so I don't really care if I have a fixed blade or not. And I think just this, like you were talking about, the podcast has kind of made me realize how much I love some of these old knives and old designs and stuff like that. And it's made me want to make them and buy them.
Yes.
Yep. Well, and that's when we were talking about materials earlier. I'm like, is he going to say Richlite or is he going to say Ironwood? Because we talked a bunch about Ironwood, and I swear, it seems like there's a bunch more of it out there, right? The other day I saw a Gus Cicchini knife with Ironwood. We've seen a bunch of fixed blades with Ironwood. Beautiful stuff, and like you said, those materials, they're hard to beat, right? They're pretty, they're real.
Yeah.
It's just a nice kind
and it works well on a folder, like the Ironwood actually does. It doesn't want to be shitty.
Yeah.
All the woods are not going to treat you well on a folder, but Ironwood it'll sit still. Right. It's dense.
Yep. Kind of like me. Damn it.
Tom Wood. All right, Tom, you're up. 2019, something cool, stuff you saw, a trend. What do you want to talk about 2019?
And so one of the things I noticed, and this may be just because I've jumped into that pool, but it feels like there's an increase in CNC use by individual knife makers. And I think it's kind of cool, and when we did our interview with Bob Terrazula, the old school way of thinking was you had to make 500 of something on a CNC in order to make it profitable and make it work. And what I think is cool is seeing how all the different small shops are using them, because the neat thing is this technology has been shrunken down where it'll fit in a garage, and it's not cheap, but it's affordable. And it just seems like that this year I've seen a lot more custom makers using CNC machines and really doing some cool stuff with them.
Yeah, accessible might be a word I would use for that, right? Because like you said, you don't need a ginormous industrial building to have one of those machines, right? Michael's got one in an awful tiny space in his downstairs. It kind of just barely fits, at least vertically.
It does barely fit. I had to line it up so it would go, the Z-axis would go right between little Raptor things. Joist.
Perfect.
But it fits in there, right? And it's a very small space with a super capable machine that, big companies and prototyping shops and everything else use that same exact equipment. Sometimes to do volume, sometimes to do onesie stuff. But yeah, it is a very interesting adaptation. I mean, that's something that's been happening for a while, but I agree. We've seen more and more of it this past year. And it seems like, I think maybe we talked about this in a previous episode, where it's almost kind of become now not something that people feel like they have to buy, but starting to feel like something people feel like they have to buy, right? Like,
maybe, I think so.
I think it's on the future equipment list for a lot more makers than it ever has been.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think after the wall gets broken down, I think you realize, oh, so-and-so's making stuff with it. I can do this. Someone's, paying off a CNC. I can do this. I mean, once it gets done a few times, then you realize, oh, this is something that we can do, that's quote unquote affordable. And I think the Tormach machines, opened up, a lot of abilities for makers, because those were kind of a lower price type of machine that were much smaller than, not a ton smaller, but smaller than the Haas mini mill that I have, and just a little bit more affordable. And people are making some fantastic pieces on them. I mean, it's kind of cool.
When it feels like, and Michael, I think you're a great example of this. You're making it feel like it's just another tool that an artist can use, right? I mean, it does stuff that you can't do any other way. You don't have to make 500 of something. You can build, five a week, or 3 a week or 1 a week, Time doesn't matter. You're paying for it anyways. You just run one piece.
Yeah. No, I definitely use it a prototyping type of machine. And we've talked about this before. I kind of have fun with it. And like I said before, I have to pay my passion and I have to pay my bills. Those are the two things I need to get paid to do this job. And the machine helps me do it. I purposely look for ways and things to do that I cannot do anywhere else, because I have it, and why not? I'm limited by my skills most of the time. And I like having fun and seeing what the hell you can do.
Well, and to your point, it's a great example of a piece of equipment that can do both, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
for the right stuff, like making your parts for your in-house mid-tech project, right? Okay, awesome, right? You have a great tool that can do that and can do it in volume, right? And if you need to, you can make micro production, basically, right? For at least component stuff, and maybe this goes a little bit to the point we talked about earlier about Elijah maybe not feeling quite as constrained as sometimes other makers might, because of his approach to it. And in this case, you came at it as a prototyping thing, right? That, it can also do volume stuff, right? And someday I should probably try to do that with it. But because you kind of treat it like a volume thing, I think there's lots of people that have experience with that kind of equipment or that, what looks like volume production equipment, like the mindset that Bob mentioned, that they don't really think of it as a prototyping tool.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But you came at it that way, so you can look at it as that kind of like, hey, there's this like a super wazoo hyper pantograph, basically, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, we're even using it differently than Michael is. We're, making parts. Instead of having somebody sit on the bandsaw, the machine's doing it, and our holes will be,
right.
That's one of the things that really frustrates me is if I've got somebody working and they're using a drill pattern to make blade blanks. If they're not paying attention and they let the holes drift, man, it messes everything up if the holes are off center. So, that's the beauty of this. The holes are dead nuts on. And they're accurate, and I don't know. It's just nice to have repeatable parts. And, our goal is that you won't be able to tell the finished product most of the time, with our custom blades, because we're using it to do the grunt work, and then we're hand finishing everything just like we would normally, and hand grinding and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, it's definitely a shift, because I don't know a lot of makers personally that even some of the most, kind of, stubborn type of makers that aren't working towards a CNC or thinking of the future with a CNC. It's kind of crazy how much things have shifted.
Right.
But I think there's a huge growth in just manufacturing in general. I mean, look at the options for 3D printing, CO2 lasers, fiber lasers, pocket NCs. People are just, even, and not to be disparaging or whatever, but the housewife on Etsy is able to make money making, lasering leather things or whatever. It's this kind of cool thing of people making things, right. No matter how they're doing it. There's a lot of people just making and manufacturing, and it's pretty awesome to see. No matter if it's knife
craft industry,
yeah, I like it. We just have kind of a stigma.
Yeah, the fact that there are those laser machines that cut wood and other stuff, right? That's a trip. It's really wild to see that stuff into the hands of lots and lots of people, and being used in very creative ways as part of that. Well, let's keep going. Michael, you got another 2019 cool thing or trend or something you saw that you want to talk about?
I don't know if it's a trend or if it's part of me getting more into these, but I've seen a ton of kitchen knives. And I know that it's kind of been slowly building and building, but I got kind of into making a few, and I've got some that I've still got to finish. But just looking around, doing research and all the stuff, there's a vast amount of kitchen knives out there, a ton of makers. I don't know, I think it's just a popularity sort of thing, because about everyone can use a kitchen knife. It's non-threatening. It's not, a pocket knife that someone whips out and looks scary or quote unquote scary. It's something that you can just use practically in the kitchen.
Right. And it's,
yeah.
I was just going to say, it's kind of cool. A lot of these people that are doing kitchen knives and doing good, I have no idea who they are.
No, never heard of a lot of these guys. And I mean, they'll, you can't really judge it by followers, but you'll see a lot of these guys with a very healthy following on, Instagram or whatever, that probably have no idea, may not know anything about like the EDC type community or anything. Could be a whole different world that we are just kind of becoming privy to because we started looking around. Who knows?
I tend to think that's the case. I mean, with the whole Forged in Fire explosion, right? A bunch of those dudes are kitchen knife guys.
Mm-hmm.
And like was said, right? When you can market your product as something that helps you enjoy your life more, that's a much different marketing scheme than here's a special knife designed to dispose of terrorists, or you know what I mean? Some kind of crazy hardcore kind of shit. I mean, that has its own marketing and is very appealing to certain people. And at the same time, everybody likes a good kitchen knife, right? Anyone that's used a decent kitchen knife likes a good kitchen knife.
Yeah, there's absolutely no stigma on a kitchen knife as far as how the world looks at them. They're just purely practical to about anyone. But that just opens the market up to so many new buyers, new collectors that may, move into our types of knives and stuff. And the kitchen knives are kind of fun. They're fun to look at, fun to make. You can do interesting, and I think it's really helped with like the San Mai being created out there and sold to makers, because there's so much demand for the San Mai and the funky steels and layered stuff for the kitchen knives that it's kind of crossed over. Yeah. It's been fun.
Yep. And there's a lot of those guys, a lot of the kitchen knife guys are forging their own Damascus too. I mean, some of it really, really killer stuff, especially in the high end side of kitchen knife stuff.
Oh, some very nice,
doing some really fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say we've really seen a big resurgence in the Damascus stuff, and not just. I think it probably pumped a lot of energy into probably the forge side of of knife making, and I'm sure Forge and Fire has done a ton for that too. But just this idea of this artisan, I hate using that word, but it's been an effective word for what we do. And it's pumped a lot of people into this industry, which makes more innovative type of looking knives and Damascus patterns. And I bet there's been more hydraulic presses sold the last couple of years than ever before.
Oh yeah,
there's a ton of them out there now.
Power hammers and presses.
Well, it's yeah. I think it's kind of cool too, because with the kitchen knives comes like the Japanese kitchen knives, which is a whole nother thing that I'm woefully lacking in understanding. But we went to a store in New York. We were walking around, and there was a store, and that's all they had was Japanese kitchen knives, and there was 10 million different kinds, and it was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of those guys are very heavy on, or not a lot, but it's almost like a Loveless type pattern where either a lot of guys start with the Japanese style stuff because there's a kind of a formula of what you can make and what it's supposed to be like, and then maybe branch out. But there's just a ton of that stuff out there, and also like traditional style sharpening too. All the cool whetstones and the fun stuff that goes with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's probably I think there's definitely been a lot of growth in the kitchen knife area. I think, to your point, it's probably not fair to call that a 2019 thing, but it's certainly when I noticed it more. You know what I mean? The sheer number of kitchen knife guys at Blade Show, and just being more visible in the scene. I don't know. Kitchen knife guys are probably cursing us right now, but
well, I don't know.
Certainly,
why
I noticed them in 2019. Well, no, I know, but we're acting like it's new. It's not new.
No,
it's certainly become more to the forefront. I think is probably a good way to say it.
Well, I think that's probably what is the case on most of the stuff we're going to see. It's not an overnight thing on any of this. It's just come to the front.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's also probably like a little bit like if you're looking for, say you're looking at a new Corvette, that's all you see driving down the road, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You see what you're looking for.
Only because it's the best American sports car ever made. But yes, keep going, Tom.
Well, I personally prefer the Camaro, but
whoa, okay, that's okay. Wow. Yeah, that's the thing, right? There's a lot of growth everywhere. I think there's a lot more there's been a rapidly increasing rate of visibility on the custom kitchen knife thing, and that's everything from basic stuff, newer makers, all the way to people like we posted some stuff on our Instagram. I posted a video about a Haley DeRozier's knife, and we talked about her a little bit in our Christmas picks episode. Knives like that aren't necessarily, always, there's certainly not always kitchen knives in her case, maybe even only sometimes kitchen knives, but that, like you said, Michael, the whole artisan side of it, right? Where, hey, this is like no shit, real soul authorship stuff going on. Making really, really fantastic work. We talked, I don't remember if we talked about it on the show, but I know you and I talked, Michael, about this William Brigham at the _artificery. on Instagram. Guy's making some killer Damascus, gorgeous knives. I got in his email list because I couldn't help myself. His work is fantastic.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of guys out there making great stuff, and there's room for it, right? It's like people embrace it and run with it, and we haven't seen that in a while, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's good to see, and naturally we like to be competitive, and we like to be like, more makers means more competition, but it really isn't the case. You know, you can really just sit back, make your knives all you want, and probably do pretty decent if you just kept your head down and did it. You know, there's a lot of customers these days.
All right. What about you, Sean? You got another 2019 cool thing or trend or something you noticed that you thought was worth talking about?
Well, one of the coolest moments for me was getting to meet David Boy and actually buy a folder from him.
Oh, yeah.
That's a moment that'll stand out for me forever. And it was just a really cool experience.
Yeah, it was really cool that all four of us were there. We got a pretty cool picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I might have like 4 signed books. I don't know, maybe.
Tom wore him out on signing the books.
all to me.
Yeah, right.
Hell
right.
yeah.
No, that was a really cool experience. He seemed like he was truly joyful that we were talking to him and offering him, I think, a bunch of honor for his contributions to the industry. And he seemed to really, really appreciate that. It was a very, very cool experience.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, really, and it was just respect where respect's due.
Yes.
That gentleman was very influential in many, many knife makers.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Right.
And I mean, even you start thinking about degrees of separation from where he wrote the book, and it becomes exponentially more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things that I thought was, I actually didn't realize this. This is probably narrow-minded on my part, but we spent a bunch of time talking with him and talking about the book and talking about the knives. We all bought folders from him, and then we stepped away to kind of get out of the way of his table so he could have his thing going on, and we needed a couple minutes to chat about stuff. And I probably saw 4 or 5 different people from the industry make their way over and talk to him and basically do the same thing. I thought that was really, really cool to see him getting respect from not just us, right? I mean, where we didn't do something special or whatever, but to realize that, wow, there's a lot of people here that really are respecting David Boy and his contributions. And I thought that was really cool to see.
It's kind of sad to me that he was kind of he wasn't out of the industry because he was still doing his dendritic stuff and making the cast stuff and all that. But he didn't come to Blade for years and years and years. And, how I think he would have been able to appreciate all that for a longer period of time,
Yeah. Yeah, probably so.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before. How many guys are sitting around just like him that have done so much for industry that people just walk right past to get the newest trinket, and it's, and this is coming from a guy that makes trinkets and stuff. So, I'm not, don't pass those guys up.
Yeah.
They have a lot to say.
Wealth of knowledge.
Like the lady at the New York show we talked to. She was, she had some cool knives. Didn't she, Mark?
She had cool. Damn it.
I guess I should.
She did have cool knives. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let it out. Let it flow.
Ben's got a really cool knife.
Are you talking about Ben crying?
Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, he picked up a cronk from a lady in the New York show. Just because
you can't talk about it yet.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to talk about it yet.
Yeah. That lady, by the way, is the owner of Quintessential Cutlery.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Grasna Shaw. But yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Ben Crine picked my pocket and got he picked a really nice WW cronk. Yeah, no, there's, like you said, legends out there. You just got to go find them and talk to them. And that's everywhere, right? New York show, you name it. There's some of the folks just kind of get overlooked. And at some level, like you said, kind of sad. At the same time, hey, they're there, and you go talk to them, and in some cases you might learn something, right? In some cases it's sort of like, holy shit, I didn't realize who this person was. And we've done a few of those since I have done a few of those since we started doing this show, and they've all proven to be really, really cool experiences. So definitely something to take advantage of when you go to a show.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 2019 cool thing I want to talk about. Another one is, and this might not be fair to describe it this way, but because it makes better headlines, I'm going to call it the return of Sal. Sal Monero. Yeah. And maybe return is a wrong way to say it, but it seemed like Sal kind of took a little bit of a break or laid back a little bit and was focused on some other stuff and life and whatever, and then has kind of come back on the scene and has been doing some super, super, super cool stuff.
Well, I think he was back working, wasn't he? He's an iron worker.
Yeah, I think he had a couple things going on, and we'll actually learn more about that in the future. Sal's going to join us for a future episode. He'll be an interview guy to join us in an upcoming episode of Mark of the Maker, so that'll be really cool. We'll get Sal's whole story, but
that'll be fun.
He's definitely come back on the scene, in my opinion anyway. He's kind of reappeared and doing a bunch of cool things, making some great knives, some really super, super nice little fixed blades.
Yeah, a little bow tie.
Mm-hmm. The bow tie fixed blade is super badass. Oh. I think he's got a bigger version of it as well. And then he's got this little GMC folder. I talked about that in an earlier episode as a little knife that he brought to Blade Show for me. He's made a few of those now. And just like a little jewel, man, a tiny little thing like the size of, I think it's safe to call it the size of a medium or small sized slip joint. But it's a bolster lock. And if you've handled Sal's knives ever, you'll clearly recognize the way his action works on his knives, just like super, super butter smooth. And everything about it is just cool details, done right, top to bottom.
Yeah, super clean knives. It's one of those things that's like we harp about going to shows and all that stuff. But his work's a good example of why you need to go, because you don't really appreciate it until you handle one. Because they're smooth, they're delicate yet sturdy. They're just cool knives. Those little new ones he's doing, and it's just
his attention to detail has always been really good. And Michael, I think you said it best when you said that he was a maker's maker, and I think that's it right there in a nutshell.
Oh yeah, he's the definition of such.
Yeah,
I mean, that GMC, every person I've ever handed it to, even if you hand it to someone who's been around for a little while, they're like, oh yeah, Sal, I've heard of him. Yeah. And then they play around with that little knife and they're like, holy shit, this thing is amazing. It's like, yeah, that's what he does. Amazing stuff. Super clean, impeccable. It's really cool to see him doing some things and coming up with some new patterns. And yeah, I just think it's a win-win for everybody. And I'm very happy to see him back.
It's been a pleasure to see him back and to talk with him again, and just having him around makes knife making a better community.
Agreed.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Sal.
You didn't really go. You had a little coffee break,
Yeah.
Just keeping it on the DL.
All right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But very, very cool. And we're really, really looking forward to have him join us and have a great conversation. Sal is a fan of the show, friend of the show, and really is into what we're trying to do with this thing. And it'll be really exciting to have him on. So really looking forward to that. It'll be lots of laughs and some very, very cool conversations.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Tom, you got another 2019 thing you want to hit on?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that I've noticed, and I think it's pretty neat, and it ties in with some of the stuff we talked about with the kitchen knives and some of the other stuff, is it seems like there's more emphasis on handmade and less disposable type stuff, and it's just been kind of neat to see the resurgence in that from pins to whatever. And I think it we've talked about it a little bit. Maybe it's one of the good things that hipsters brought back around. I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
But have you guys noticed that too?
Yeah, we joke around about the hipsters and stuff like that, but it's a big part of why there's so much manufacturing industry right now. There's a joy in or pride in everything out there that can be made, from welding to woodworking to everything. And it's amazing to see. I think people are realizing there's real jobs and real things that can be made and done besides sitting behind a cubicle wall.
And I think, we've talked about like YouTube videos and how to and all this kind of stuff on social media. I think that plays into it too, because people see it being made and they're like, I can do that. And there's so much information on how to do stuff on like YouTube and Instagram and all this stuff. So I think that plays into it, but it seems like I've seen more and more of the handmade type stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The resurgence of a craft culture or even DIY stuff, all those things definitely feed into something I think that's really good for the industry. And regardless of how or why it came around, I think it's very healthy and it's cool, right? I think some of the early adopters of some of that stuff, I think, punched out some space for that to get some traction, and it's been pretty cool to see. There's some neat stuff out there, right? I mean, everything from furniture to you name it, right? Knives, furniture. There's lots of different kinds of gear. We on Instagram, there's a place called Long White Beard Furniture here in Michigan, in the Metro Detroit area. They do some really, really cool handmade furniture stuff, right? Some of those things have gone from being sort of a novelty thing to being almost more of like an aspirational thing. I'd love to have one of their handmade tables. That's kind of on my to-do list for the house project that we've had going on. It seems like perpetually, but it's just cool, right? There's like real people really making this thing over not far from my house, and I go pick out the wood and be part of the process. And there's value in that. And there's lots of people now, I think, that are seeing that and enjoying it, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's always been these, it's weird. I live in not too far, from Branson, in this whole area, there was like these signs for walnut bowls, and they, growing up, you'd see them all, these signs all the time, walnut bowls. I'd be like, who the hell is buying walnut bowls? Probably nobody, I don't really know. But I mean, if you go on like social media now, you'll see tons of people making bowls on lathes, and
heck yeah.
Yeah.
People buying this shit out of them, and doing cool stuff with them, stacking different woods and doing weird stuff and doing burls and stuff, but I don't know, it's changed and for the better in my opinion. Like Mark said, no matter how we got here, and there's a lot of people that make it very weird and extra look at me type of stuff, but hell, it's still, I think it's good for our souls.
Yeah.
Well, and getting us out of that damn Walmart mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Are you suggesting that Sean should take up period correct blacksmith, like Revolutionary War era blacksmith clothing?
Yeah, he should have to wear pantaloons. Pantaloons and blouses.
What makes you think he isn't?
That's true.
Game blouses.
Now I can think of that Seinfeld episode.
The puffy shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Sean with the puffy shirt. I got to send a puffy shirt down so he can make a picture.
Hell yeah.
Period correct. Kendrick Knives.
Man, Blackbeard wore one. I'll tie some fucking fuses in my beard. I will rock that shit.
Yes.
You see, I'm a can sort of guy, not a can't sort of guy.
That's right. That is fantastic.
That's awesome.
All right, Michael, do you have any more 2019 things you want to talk about, or trends, or the cool things you saw?
You mean like how I heavily alluded to earlier, the part where you got a knife bought from underneath you?
That was the highlight of 2019?
Yeah, pretty much the highlight. Marked it on my calendar and said this was a fantastic moment. We were there. We were enjoying old school knives. Saw a beautiful Kronk.
This is at the New York show.
The New York show. Yeah. Just kind of wandering around. Probably should have been at my table, but just saw really Westinghouse, really up Mark's in his wheelhouse, like all the way in his wheelhouse for, decent money, modern folder money. And Mark went to the restroom, kind of didn't, kind of shit the bed, didn't buy the knife. And Tom's son just came in like a boss and bought it. Like
he did. That he did.
And it was a beautiful piece. That's a museum quality piece. It literally has never been sharpened.
It's a cool piece. And it's just like Tom's, but better too. So it's like it's the double MF.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much nicer than mine.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
But as much as I like seeing Mark in a touch of pain, it's just cool seeing the youth, him buying that just gave me, I don't know. It made me feel good about the youth of collectors that, a big part of that is you being his father and all, but still, people go for.
Yeah, it's still a commitment. That was his money that he spent. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It made me happy. It made me happy too. So
yeah, it's
not so much that he bought it. I thought Mark was not buying it because Ben asked me, and I was like, I don't think he is. I don't know.
Yeah.
He didn't put any money out there and didn't seem to be
blood covered for blood. I get it.
Walked away from the
stick
table.
Together over there.
But yeah, it does make me happy.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, me too. It was very cool. Like you said, Michael, young guy, getting kind of smitten by a very, very cool historic piece and going for it. That's pretty fantastic. I would love to have come back and bought it, which I was planning to do, but I'm glad that Ben got it for sure.
And she was happy. I don't think she really thought she was going to be selling that piece by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not really 100% sure she wanted to even sell it, but she, we went back and talked to her and she was happy. She was happy to see a young man buy it that she knew would enjoy it. And that made me happy. It's stuff like that kind of gets you in the feels a little bit. And this is once again where I'm going to reiterate the go into the shows thing. I went and checked her site when I got home because she had so many cool old pieces on her table and so much knowledge.
They weren't on the site.
They aren't on the site.
Right.
And I was like, ooh.
She has cool stuff on the site. It's quintessential cutlery.
Yeah, but they weren't all there.
No. She said that those Westinghouse pieces were sort of like a little sub collection that she said, when I go to a show, I'll usually grab some cool little lineup of knives and bring them. And she was very clear when I asked her how much the knife was, she was very clear that this is like what it'll take to get me to let it go kind of number. You know what I mean? Which
she was like,
legit. This
is the price and I don't care to sell it.
Yeah. She doesn't really want to sell it. Right? Yeah. That's what Michael was saying. That's awesome. Right. It was like, she was kind of actually just showing the knives, which is really, really fun. And, but like you said, when Michael and I went back and talked to her, she kind of commented about both pieces. One, she's like, she's like, a Kronk is the last knife I would expect to sell at this show. And which is funny because two Kronks got bought that weekend, or a set of Kronks and another one.
Yeah.
But then, in addition to it, she was truly thrilled that Ben bought the knife, right? Like, she's like, hey, I'd be happy for either of you guys to have had it. She goes, because I know you'd appreciate it. You were very into it. But she said, seeing a young guy buy a historic piece like that is like, puts a smile on your face, right? It's kind of part of like, hey, look at that. There's still some life left in this thing beyond, modern production folders and widgets or whatever. So that was very cool.
Right.
There was a lot of cool knives at that show. That Ted Dow hatchet was so cool with all the paperwork.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was, and I think it was like what, $750 or something. It was a very reasonable. I mean, there was no,
and it was papered.
Yeah, there was no marking on it at all. But it had a thickened hammering type back end of it, where they had the full paperwork where the customer had like written what he wanted. He wanted extra weight in the back so he can drive in tent stakes. So he had brazed or welded on 2 more chunks on the back for like $50 or something. This was in the 60s or 70s when this was made. And, it's on his like letterhead. It had a tracing of the hatchet on it with the correspondence. And it was so cool, that whole part of it. And it was just, I don't know, just sitting there for like $750 or something, But I picked up those throwing knives, and otherwise I probably would have brought that home too.
Yeah, Birch bought a set of Kronk throwing knives, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's not
very, very, very cool pieces.
That show, for the size of the show, always has amazingly cool pieces if you're a collector, like vintage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think for lots of folks that are there to buy Tom stuff and Michael stuff, and the reason that I would typically go to the New York show, these are like off the beaten path people that are in that same little tiny room. You know what I mean? It's just like, hey, you got to make a little bit of time to walk around and see that stuff and maybe ask some questions like, hey, that's pretty cool. What is that? And that's the way that hammer came up, right? And the guy started pulling out paperwork and the letter that was written to request that hatch should be built a certain way. That was badass.
Yeah, a legit holy shit type of moment. And that's what I'm going to miss about, the little bit about TKI moving and stuff, is not getting to go to the Antique Arms Show. Because, man, there was you'd see so many price knives and all very cool old school knives. And I'm going to miss that part. There's an old dealer with an old, glass case. I'm going to go looking at it.
All right. So we got to keep going because we're starting to run a little bit long. Sean, where are you at on this is like your last thing you want to mention about 2019 cool stuff or things you saw?
And I will remember 2019 as the year of the micro show. I think that the micro show is really picking up steam. It picked up a lot of steam this year, and I believe we're seeing kind of what the future holds for us.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's been pretty interesting.
There's been a few of them. I mean, I have to agree. They just had this little one in Arizona that Tom McCreary, I think, was in the middle of assembling. And there's been a bunch of them. So I agree. I think it's a very interesting trend. I look forward to seeing where that goes. I think I know there's some sour grapes floating around out there about that kind of stuff. At the same time, I think it's a pretty cool opportunity where these things are popping up in places that oftentimes would never have a knife show, right? Mm-hmm. Other than maybe a local gun and knife show. And that makes them a little bit more accessible. So I think it's pretty interesting. All comments that I hear from anyone who's participated in one of these very small get-together / show type things has been extremely positive, because you actually have time to shoot the shit with one another, right? Have a real conversation and maybe have some food together, and that ain't all bad.
No. Well, it just seems less hectic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did one last, I think it was March or April in Connecticut.
Yeah, like your trunk show or pop-up show thing that you did?
Yeah, we did like a little trunk show. And basically, we invited people. All you had to do was show up, and we asked people to RSVP kind of because we would know what to plan for. But we had like 35 people or 36 people show up, sold a few knives to pay for it. And, I was able to, for the price of a regular show, I was able to provide a meal, and we had a great time for 4 hours,
Right.
Oh, and probably the majority of the people walked away from it thinking it was one of the best knife experiences they've had.
Yeah. That's like extra micro, even kind of better in a way, kind of a personal show.
What was cool was a lot of, most of the people brought their collections, and there's probably 10 or 12 pretty good number of collections spread out on the table. So there was tons of stuff that people could handle and look at. I brought, I think, 20 some pieces. If everybody that wanted something got something, and it was fun.
Pretty awesome. But I also get some of the sour grapes sometimes, because it's, the only problem is there's only so much space, at some of these places. So not everyone's going to get to go or going to get invited or whatever. We've had the one in Springfield, kind of a customer appreciation show, and I can get where you could be upset by it, but that's not usually the intent of anyone that's putting on a show. They just want to have a more intimate type setting, a smaller show where, you can enjoy talking to other makers. I miss that very much when I'm at one of the, as Sean called it, industry show type settings, is just talking to you guys.
Yeah.
We've said before how, Tom and I have been at the same, quad or whatever and not even talked to each other, but like 5 words during a whole weekend, which is ridiculous.
Isn't that crazy?
Right.
It's true.
It's dumb. I want to see and talk with my friends and customers. And a lot of times that's, synonymous.
Yeah.
Well, and it's maybe a good way to think of it is it's not unlike your comment earlier, Michael, about I have to do part of this because I love it, and I have to do part of it because it's business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the big shows are important because they're great for visibility. I don't know how many times I've been helping out at your table and people come up and it's the first time they've ever had an opportunity to meet you, right? They've seen your work and whatever. But it's kind of a really neat thing to be able to put a face with the name and, go shake someone's hand and have even a brief conversation. Yeah. So that's really, really important. But to your point, right, there's room, I think, and I think it's reasonable to also want to have the real personal piece of it too, right? Where it's laid back and it's not, about being on and whatever. It's just, let's hang out and have some drinks and have a little bit of food. And by the way, we got some knives too if you want, but you know what I mean? The point is, let's just enjoy one another's company a little bit too. And that's really cool.
They are fun. It does spread makers a bit thin though. It's going to be, I think this next year is going to be even crazier with them. And it'd be interesting to see where makers start setting their calendars at, where they end up at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And Sean, I know you said like the micro show or whatever, but I even had shows, it seems like, on my list, because it seems like there's so many shows now. It used to be there was like 2 or 3 shows per year, and now there's like every month there's another show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I believe right now a fella could probably do 2 shows a month if he was so inclined.
Ooh.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Oh, well, I'm not so inclined. I mean, I'm not one of those fellows.
No.
I like going to shows and I like doing them. They're fun, but man, they are a lot of work and they're expensive too. I mean, customers don't fully appreciate it, but a show is an expensive thing by the time you paid a table and got there and all this other stuff.
Well, yeah.
It's a pretty significant investment.
I think the customers that are there understand. They've had to pay for food, and hotel, and all that. And I think it. That's where I think it gets very weird when like the open bids and stuff kind of get spread out over internet and all that stuff. And I get it. I've been there too. And someone was like, just add on the cost of the hotel and all that stuff, and that's where they have to start. And I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I think, I agree. If you're a customer and you're there, for sure. But it's different if you're on the other side of the table a little bit, I think, because it's a vacation. You're not working. For us, for makers, dude, it wears us down. At least for me, by the time I'm done with the show, I feel like I've been in the ring for 9 rounds,
No.
Oh shit. Yeah.
No, I get it. But I also see like we work hard. We put our time in. We put a lot of money into the show, but we also get something back out of it. The customer can pay,
right,
almost as much and hope to get something and go back with nothing. You know what I mean? It's at least we have the ability to.
We've said all along, you go for the people and the experience. If you go home with nothing, you still have a pretty awesome experience.
That's true. But sometimes you get your heart set on a cool new toy and Ben buys it.
At his father's
it.
Wait,
yes.
No. That's
man.
That's not what I heard, but I'll digress.
Yeah. I didn't hear you in the bathroom going, screw that guy.
That son of a gun. I think some of that worn out thing you're talking about, Tom, is significantly complicated by the run up to the show.
Yeah.
I think the run up to the show wasn't there. It would still be stressful. It'd still be a busy weekend, but the wiped dead at the end wouldn't be quite as severe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wouldn't be that much more than what a collector goes through with a show, but it's not uncommon for, I mean, if I do 5 or 6 shows a year, that's a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you figure it's a solid $2,000 or $3,000 for a weekend.
Yeah.
And that's just to go and hang out. And you're right. You should go because you want to see your pals. And Birch is right. Sometimes you go and you really, really want a piece and you can't get it. And that's a bitch. But it's not cheap on either side of the table. I think that's a fair way to put it.
Agree 100%. And the bad thing is once you start going, you can't stop just about. Seriously, I mean, that's part of what we're saying, it's like literally you start going and it's like, it's a thing. I haven't missed Blade show since like 90 or 91. Yeah.
Well, you make friends that you only
seriously haven't missed a single one.
You only see at the show, at a certain show. So then you don't want to miss the show because you don't see your friends, it's part of it.
No, that's a great one, Sean. Micro show trend is very, very strong. We saw lots more of them pop up in 2019 and kind of jumping ahead. I think we're going to see a bunch more in 2020. And like Michael's saying, it'll be really interesting to see where the makers land. Because at some level, right, if you can go and enjoy yourself a little more and have a little bit less stress and maybe not have to travel to the same old city you've been going to since 1990, whatever, there's some attraction to that, right?
Yeah.
And if you can only pick so many shows to do, then it may change the landscape.
What I'm going to do. I'm going to have a micro show in my shop. Then I'm going to have the nano show in the basement below. Super, super exclusive.
Yeah.
Super exclusive. Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to throw one in Maysville just to see how many people will drive to bumfuck nowhere, Kentucky for a knife.
There you go. There you go. No, I'm down. We got family in Maysville, man. We're in.
Well, now I don't know about it.
Michael wants to have a show so small that it pisses off everyone from the upstairs show.
Yeah.
I want to do an invitation-only show where I don't invite myself.
Where's the knives?
Or you're the only one you invite. That's the way you got to look at it.
Oh, no, I don't want to go to a show that would invite me.
That's a solid point.
Yes, that's a great point. Great point. All right. 2019 trends. Man, I had a couple of them. I'm going to do one. I'm going to do both of them. Knife podcasts. There's a shitload of knife podcasts out there.
It's true.
If you like knife stuff and you like talk about knives and you're not getting enough podcast content, you're doing it wrong because there's a whole bunch of podcasts. We certainly were not the first. I'm not even sure we were that early in the whole knife podcast development. We were kind of one of the ones that popped up in there, but man, there's a bunch of them out there. Brian Efros talked about Behind the Blade, Matt Martin's show.
Yep.
The guy we talked to at Blade Show, Kyle Daly, and Knife Perspective podcast. Mm-hmm. They're doing a cool thing over there. They're kitchen knife guys, right? And so that fits in with this kitchen knife conversation we had earlier. We mentioned the Knife Nuts guys. They're putting on a show that's extremely popular. Good guys. We have lots of conversation with them.
Yeah.
And it's all about Chinese production knives. That's the vast majority of the topic of conversation. And the fact that there's an audience for it means that this thing is super, super huge. So there's a lot going on. And, Knife Talk, those guys are kitchen knife guys. So the significance of the kitchen knife thing is certainly not to be overlooked. You know what I mean? It's substantial, and there's content that goes along with all that stuff. So I think that I think some people look at that like, oh, this isn't great. There's so many knife podcasts. At the same time, it's kind of awesome, right? There's lots of opinions out there.
Yeah.
Some information, some opinion, some combination of the two. We're trying to do some other stuff with history and other things, but man, if you just want laughs, there's ways to get just laughs. If there's, if you want deeper content, there's deeper content. If you want how-tos, there's tons and tons of that out there. Blacksmith's Pub, right? All these guys are doing great shows that are talking to all different little slices of this industry. And I think it's fascinating to see, and I think it's healthy for the industry.
Oh yeah.
Well, and that's what's cool, Mark, is it doesn't seem to be, there's a whole lot of overlap. Every one is like a whole slice of its own pie, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, even if there was, it wouldn't matter. It's all, it's like complaining about having too many books in your library.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, given how niche our industry is anyway, it shouldn't really be surprising. I mean, everybody's got their quirk that they like.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the other thing I want to mention real quick with 2019, we talked about him in the Christmas Picks episode, but the amount of cool new shit that Gus Cicchini has done in the last year is like absolutely baffling to me. The guy, we've talked about it many times about he's an innovator. He's always doing something crazy. I love watching it. I think Gus is a great guy, a fantastic guy to talk to, doing awesome stuff. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention him in awesome shit that I saw in 2019 because he's continues to do cool stuff. And in my early 2020 plug is, right, we mentioned before, he's making his own laminated titanium, and he's making his own Damascus and Sanmai. I think 2020 is going to be a crazy year for Gus. We're going to see some really cool shit that I haven't talked to him about it, but that's just a prediction.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Gus because my son, Ben.
Oh, that guy.
He's constantly bringing me his phone while we're in the shop. He's like, look at what he's doing. How's he doing this? And like his new Damascus, it looks so much like urban camo. Ben's like freaking out over it. And
back off, Ben.
That dude's a wizard.
And he's like, Papa, why can't you make this?
I am not a wizard.
Man,
sorry.
Right.
Speaking of Gus, did you guys ever see the piece he did that had the glass inlays in it?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the stuff he did with Eric Mack.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you talk about an amazing and stunning knife. I mean, there was glass inlaid into the handle and a glass inlay into the blade.
Yep.
You could see straight through it. And it was a colored, like, I think it had blue swirls in the glass.
Yeah, there's cobalt or something that was in there making that color, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was just gorgeous and one of the most unique knives I've ever seen. And he's just got better since.
That was a long time ago.
Oh, dude, that was a good fucking 8 years ago at least.
Exactly. Yeah. No, Eric worked with him on that. And that was a long ass time ago. That was when I kind of was first starting to understand the significance of Gus's work. And then, oh, hey, here's this knife that we put glass into. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I mean,
unbelievable.
Let's be honest. He doesn't belong with the tactical makers. He belongs up with the art makers. I mean,
oh yeah, and that's why I love seeing him do the work he together with Owen Wood. Those pieces he did with him, those were really cool.
Yep.
His Instagram feed is crazy.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Oh well, man, he's one of the accounts. If he's got a picture set, I go through every picture in the set.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, because they're always like some kind of ever evolving, mystery, right? Like, oh my God, look at that. And then you flip to that one and it's like, oh fuck, what is that?
Yeah.
And then you flip to the next one, like, oh damn, look at that.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that's how it is. I mean, there's so many little details and just spectacular work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also kind of crazy because Gus is one of those guys, like, he'll build something and you're like, wow, that was crazy. And then he'll build it again, but he'll put extra stuff on it.
Yeah.
And like,
exactly. Yeah.
The next time it's got extra, and it's just like, holy crap, man, stop. You're killing us.
Well, dude, and Gus is one of those guys who can get away with the extra. You know what I mean?
Dude.
Not all of us can play that tune.
No, he can just be like, I'm Brazilian. Like, oh, that's true.
No, I think it's he's a really interesting study. His work and what he does, I think, is really interesting to look at because he'll use sometimes super fancy materials, lots of it, right? So sometimes they're extremely dressy, super wazoo material knives.
Right.
And sometimes they're not, right? And the awesome part is they're mechanically and functionally super interesting, whether they're dressed up or not, right? I mean, there's lots of, pretty stuff to look at, and sometimes I think people see that part and that's all they see. But man, if you look a little deeper at his work, there's some crazy stuff going on. And, it's like home run derby, right? It's like one thing after the other, nonstop innovation and cool stuff. And I think it's just a riot. I high five Gus. I know he listens to the show. We talk about him a lot, but if you're not paying attention to Gus Cicchini, you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
All right, Tom, hit us with a last 2019 cool thing or trend or something that you saw that you liked.
All right. So one of the things that really stuck out in my mind this year, and it kind of ties in with all the like micro branding, but it seems like I see so much super steel. Like this year has been, to me, it's a proliferation of super steels. If it doesn't have M390, you might as well throw it in the trash. It seems like almost. It's like stuff's everywhere. And it's kind of cool because I think, once again, this isn't something that out of the blue happened. Spyderco, I think, killed this game a long time ago. They started doing it, and they were bringing S110V and M4 and some of this stuff. But now it seems like there's so much super high-end steel and production knives. It's crazy. I mean, back 20 years ago, I don't know if you guys remember the Gerber Gator. It came out and it didn't even have CPM 154. It had 154 CM, and it was like mind shattering because of the production, before all the knife blades were being stamped. And now this was one of the first ones where they actually water jet or lasered or something. And it's just kind of cool to see how the industry's progressed from 20 years ago. CPM 154 was mind blowing. And now we have such crazy knives like S110V or steels and M4 and M390. And it's just, I think it's pretty cool. We're definitely in the best era of knife making so far.
Yeah. Crazy steels in not just boutique stuff, right? That's the wild part.
$150 knife, you can get M390.
Yeah.
Tom, you were mentioning to us in an earlier conversation about a guy that's a metallurgist who's working on some stuff around this, right? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so that's the website is knifesteelnerds.com, and basically it's pretty cool. We've got a metallurgist that works in the car industry, actually, Mark, and his name is Laren Thomas, and he's been doing a lot of research and testing on knife steels, and it's pretty cool because his dad was Devin Thomas, and a famous Damascus maker and knife maker. And one of the things that's kind of cool is that he is working with Alpha Knife Supply on designing a specific steel just for the knife industry. That'll be kind of interesting.
Very.
Yeah. Well, that is kind of wild because that's a big deal, right? Getting a production run of special steel is no small task.
Right.
And it's not cheap.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. And if you haven't checked out his site is awesome. I'd highly recommend supporting his Patreon. There is so much good stuff, and he's constantly doing testing and buying new equipment. And, if there's a steel you're interested in, he's probably got an article on it, and it's pretty in-depth stuff. Like you can, from heat treat to toughness to wear resistance to corrosion resistance, really, really well done.
So this thing he's doing, Tom, is this like a wanna do thing, or there's actual progress on making industry specific steel?
From what I understand, talking to Jessica in Vegas at the USN show, I think that they are actually, sounds like they've got a small micro melt of this steel in production, or they're working on making it and testing it. So from what I understand, this is actually going to happen.
Huh.
So
Very
there
cool.
may be a specific steel just for knife making.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Could be cool. I mean, it won't be D2, but
yeah. Well, there's that. Well, that's cool. I've not read through his site. I'll have to go check it out. What is the website again?
It's knifesteelnerds.com. A lot of cool stuff.
People should sign up for his Patreon right after they sign up for the Mark of the Maker Patreon. Is that what you said earlier?
Right. I think, that's exactly how it should happen. But
it's the only place to get the Kendrick nudes.
No, dude, you're going to hurt my webcam sales.
Yes.
Don't tell people.
No, we're trying to get them to sign up.
My Snapchat's going to go away
Man,
now.
my kids ain't going to eat because of you.
Right.
We're not going to get rich now, guys. Dang it.
Yeah. Well, we can't have any myfreeshancams.com ads on this show. Okay, people, we're a respectable operation.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Chantalizing.com.
Right. Very interesting. Chantalizing. Oh, my Lord. All right. Don't let Birch invent any more website names.
Nope.
Definitely not. Okay. So I think that covers it for 2019. You guys had anything you missed that you wanted to talk about for 2019? Like anything we forgot? Or should we move on?
No, let's hit 2020.
All right. So 2020, we talked about micro shows already. I think that's a continuing trend. I think we all agreed about that. So I expect that to happen. I think the fixed blade thing I mentioned earlier, I think we're going to see more of that as well. I think there's enough guys making the time to kick out some fixed blades that maybe haven't done fixed blades in a long time. I think we're going to see a bunch more here in 2020, more makers dipping their toe back into that scene.
Yeah, I agree. I hope that's how it continues. That's our bread and butter.
Tom's like, my rent payment really hopes the fixed blade things takes off. You guys got any other 2020 things that you want to mention? I got a couple more, but Michael, you got any kind of cool 2020 predictions or things you want to see happen?
Not about cool, but I know personally I really want to get into a little bit more production stuff. I got hopefully some overseas stuff going along. The V5 hopefully gets probably the end of the year gets done. It's kind of always kind of switch years, more customs one year, more productions the next. And this will be hopefully a more production-y and really want to hit the CNC stuff harder, the knowledge and the abilities. Had Cody Utzler over the other day. Yeah. We were jacking around in the Fusion, which is just
in the Fusions.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a bit crazy, it's very intuitive as far as like if you just want to go on and like dabble and draw, but when you want to do something kind of serious, there's a little bit to it.
Yeah,
as far as the cam side and all that, and it's very different from how I draw and do, but it's so much more powerful, and the possibilities are fun to think about.
And so Cody's doing that, right? He's drawing in Fusion and then he's machining from Fusion as well.
Yep. He's doing in both, and nice. he's got a Tormach machine and making very cool knives. So it's
he is doing some cool stuff.
Yeah,
nice. So just to be clear, you're doing a V5, which is your MeTech, your in-house mid-tech thing, right? And you're doing production thing. That's going to move, but that's a different design, different model, different price point.
Yeah, whole different thing. Yeah. So it should be interesting.
And so I know, right. So like you said, it's kind of a pendulum swing thing, but I know you're also wanting to do a little bit more fancy stuff, right? Like more artful kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's where your custom focus is probably going to be this year, is maybe on special pieces.
I want to get funky. That's about the best way to explain it.
Funkybirch.com. Write that down.
Mm-hmm.
No, very cool, man. What about you, Sean? You got any 2020 stuff you're thinking about or that you hope to see or that you think we're going to see over the next year?
Man, I don't know that I got any predictions. I know the big deal for 2020 for me is doing TKI. This will be the first time I've done TKI. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, that's written in red on my calendar. Ain't going to miss it.
Nice.
It's going to be cool, guys.
I believe so.
Yeah. It's like TKI version 2.0 kind of, right? Maybe 3.0, I guess, now that I think about it.
New location.
Yeah, that show sort of needed a reset, right? There was some concerns or whatever, and some people got a little bit turned off by the show. I think it's very cool to see Steve trying to fix that, right? To work on it and try to address some of the questions or concerns or whatever and make it a better show for people. I'm enthused by that. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, it's nice when something isn't working like everyone wants and the guy is making it how it should be, making it work. It's good and refreshing to see, and in here, and it's cool. It's not going to be in Vegas. We don't have to go to Vegas again. We're going to Nashville.
Yep.
Got a cool venue and going to be some neat knives.
I think so.
Yeah, and we just went down to Chattanooga, and for whatever reason, we got routed through Nashville. Usually we drop down below it. And I'll be honest, I haven't been through Nashville in probably 10 or 15 years, and the downtown area where it routed us through, it was beautiful. I'm looking forward to it. It looked pretty awesome. And I hear there's good food there, so I'm down for that.
Oh yeah. We're going to have the meat sweats leaving Nashville.
Yeah.
There's a really good barbecue place right around the corner from where we're staying. I'm just telling you.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I'll just let Laffer just tell me where to go.
Yep.
Tell me what to eat.
On the Laffer foodie tour.
Uh-huh.
I can get down with that. That sounds good.
Yeah. TKI this year is going to be an interesting show. I'll look forward to seeing it kind of re-emerge. I think it's the changes that are being made, I think, are all very positive, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun.
Well, the thought behind the whole thing is positive.
Yep, for sure. What else for 2020? I don't really have any basis for this, but seeing natural materials more and more, like ironwood and koa and some other stuff, they seem to be kind of creeping back into the scene. I think we're going to see a bunch more natural material stuff happen in customs. That might be hand in hand with some of the reemergence of fixed blades in the custom world, right? For sure. Certainly within the tactical crowd. But I think we're going to see more and more natural materials this year. I look forward to that. I think there's some beautiful stuff out there, and I think it's going to be neat to see how guys use it.
Oh, yeah. More mammoth.
Mammoth, yeah.
One of my favorite
pack of wood is.
Oh yeah, true. Good call.
Is a natural material.
Good call.
What about you, Tom?
One of my favorite natural materials is jig bone, but like that a lot. 2020. So looking forward to. I actually just picked up. Just told you guys I got my first Randall knife that was ordered. So I put the order in and waited the time, and the first one's coming out, and I've got a couple more over the next few months, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but Bob Terrazzuola's book is out. The new book. I've got one ordered. I'm extremely excited about that. I can't wait to get it. It looks fantastic. Looks beautiful on the outside, the cover and everything.
Yeah, I ordered a copy this morning, actually, when I saw that it had restocked.
Yeah, me too. I was bummed that I missed the first ones, and can't wait.
Yeah, same.
I'm hoping this year to, I really want to do a slip joint. We'll see if that happens. And I actually ordered a custom folder, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm more of a custom fixed blade guy than a custom folder guy, but I don't know if you saw Chuck Gradatis, the Switch. What does it call it? The Switch.
The Switch Army knife.
Oh, the Swiss Army knife switchblade thing.
Yeah, the Switch Army knife. I ordered one of those. I looked at one in Kentucky, and that was the coolest little piece. I was like, I got to have one of these.
Yeah, that is cool.
Pretty cool. So that's it for me. You guys,
fun.
You guys making any resolutions for 2020?
Not
resolutions, man. Oh man,
I don't really make those. But I do want to be more productive. I more efficient here in the shop.
No, I'm down with that. Efficient is always a good thing. I got a ton of travel coming up this year by all appearances. So I got to work on some, and I know Tom's got this on his list too, some work-life balance kind of stuff to make sure I'm spending the right amount of time on being a good human being stuff.
It's hard, right?
And not just work and podcasts and knife shows. I got other stuff I got to do too. So yeah, you got to make time to do some things and take care of myself a little better.
Yeah, that's exactly where my resolution is. I've got to try to take care of myself better, make time for things that are important.
Yeah,
I really need to work less hours in the shop, and I haven't been able to figure out how to do that yet. I need to.
You got to do that. Your hardest working man in show business is,
Yeah,
It's kind of a cool award, but you don't want to die from
No,
it.
yeah.
You've been hitting it hard, man.
I don't know that I'm at risk of that, but I need to. I've always been really good at working hard, not necessarily at working smart. So I've got to find that balance. I need to be putting more time into the business and less time in front of the grinder. With that said, I had a crazy idea this week. I don't think I've shared this with you guys. How cool.
Resolution broken already before it even comes out. I'm just saying.
No. This would be fun. I want to.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw this out there. I want to go for a 24-hour blade grinding record. I want to set up some kind of. It's got to be 3 inches long grind, or set up the rules where anybody could do it, and then 24 hours. See how many blades I can grind in a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
Tell me that wouldn't be cool to get some kind of Guinness Book of World Record thing going.
Well, what's all involved in that? How does that process
I don't know.
work, the Guinness book thing?
I don't know, but it seemed like it'd be kind of cool. And, I've talked to some people and they're like, why don't you just do an hour? And I'm like, well, anybody can do it for an hour.
Yeah.
24 hours, though. Yeah. You got to step up to the plate.
Yeah, but what about the plunge correctness and all that stuff? There's gonna
boy.
Yeah,
gonna have to be some rules, man.
Yeah, it's preheat treat, but think about it. If you average 30 an hour, you're looking at like 720 blades or something like that. You imagine grinding that many blades in a 24-hour period?
No.
That would be awesome.
Of course not. That would be ridiculous, said Michael.
Dude,
I would finish like one blade.
I think it could be pretty cool. It would suck doing it, but it's like climbing a mountain, right? It's like an accomplishment. How many people you think have ever ground 600, 500 blades in a row? Boom.
So let me get this straight. You're going to invent a record.
Yeah.
And then you're going to, where that you set the rules for, and then you're going to set said record.
Well, that's how this works. And how do you think it works?
Technically, you will be the champion of your own contest. You're the only one doing it.
Well, anybody could
seems
do
fairly
it.
Predisposed.
Come on, man. How do you think this stuff starts? Somebody just sat down and said, I wonder how many pies I can eat. And they started eating pies, and all of a sudden you got a contest.
Is there pies in the Guinness Book of World Record?
Probably. I mean,
yeah.
How many hot dogs can you eat in a 24-hour period or something? I don't know, but I mean, it seems like it could be fun.
It is a fun idea.
Well, I, for one, am not going to fault you for stacking the deck in your favor. Good on you. Cheat to win. Fuck the world.
I'm not cheating. I'd be grinding like 600 blades, man.
Well, yeah, dude. Say it. Put it however you want so it works for you. That's cool.
Yeah. Whatever lets you sleep at night, bro. That's good.
I'm not one to judge.
That's what I like about you, Sean.
Sean's throwing the golf slow clap right now.
Anyways,
golf slow clap for Tom. Set the rules, set the guidelines, create the contest, and then smash it and say, "Oh my God, look at that! I must be the best blade grinder in the world." Hello.
That's the only way I'll get the title.
Proof. No, you had not shared that with us, thankfully, in the past.
Well, that was my resolution, and this is an idea I had this week while I was grinding at 2 a.m.
Yeah, see, that's it. A direct outcome of not doing the resolution,
right?
Of being more efficient is a cockamamie idea about world record blade grinding. No, I do think it's a fun idea. It would be like you should get with like the Forge and Fire guys, like the reality TV dudes, and do a little short mini-sode thing about it, or I don't know, mini-series.
Yeah, we'll see. Could be fun. But anyways, that
marketing, get paid. I don't know. Maybe only if you're into that kind of thing.
I'm down for
There'll be a documentary made called The Man Who Made His Own Contest.
Come on, man. You don't got to be a hater. You can do it too.
Oh, no. Make no mistake about it. He is a hater, in case you missed the first part of this fucking podcast, pal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else do we have for 2020? Let's see. Makers to watch. Who are we keeping an eye on for 2020? I want to take any predictions on who's going to have a kick-ass year. I'm going with Billy Cho on a re-up. I think Billy's going to do some cool stuff in 2020. Kid's on a roll over there.
Sure has been.
doing collabs. He's diving hard into the CNC thing. He's got a bunch of cool ideas that we've heard about. I think Billy's going to have a great 2020 again. He already had a great 19.
Yeah.
I mean, some personal stuff happened like we all do, but I think Billy's going to have a good one. I mentioned Sal earlier. Sal, I think, is going to have a fantastic year. I really, really look forward to seeing what he's got going on. What else? What other names you guys want to throw out there?
I'll throw Jonas Iglesias out there. You guys know that I'm keen on him. I like his work. Look forward to seeing what he brings to TKI. And man, as chance would have it, I actually spoke to him on the phone today and got a chance to have a decent conversation with him outside of a show, and really, really enjoyed it. I like his perspective and where he's coming from.
Very cool.
I'll throw Jan Hafnick out there. He keeps doing some really clean stuff.
Yeah.
I've picked up 3 of his pieces this year, and each one is just spot on, clean, well done, beautiful design.
Yep. He's doing really nice work. I should probably get another one on the list with him. He's doing good stuff. I should have mentioned this earlier in what I'm looking forward to in 2020. I've been talking to Dave Brown. He's making a Tanto for me.
Oh yeah.
A very traditional styled one. That's going to be super, super cool. I think he's getting ready to start on that sometime in the next little bit. And that'll be a really fun project. Something I'm definitely looking forward to this year for sure. And he's been doing crazy cool stuff. So I really look forward to seeing what he's going to do here as the year goes on. What, Michael, you got a maker you want to mention you think is going to have a good year this year or that you want to watch?
I think all my friends are going to do well, and I hope that they do.
Woohoo!
Oh, jeez.
Can I be one of your friends?
Damn. Of course. Oh, you'll do great. Just calm down with all the 3 in the mornings, and you're gonna
Guinness Book of World Records.
I wake up, I just go to work. I don't set an alarm or anything. I just can't sleep.
You make me tired when I wake up.
I don't sleep anymore, man.
It ain't right, Tom.
It's weird.
No maker to watch, Michael, or did I steal yours?
You stole mine.
I did.
You did.
Nicely played.
You were going to say Billy Cho?
Oh, yeah. The first iteration of the show was Billy Cho.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Well, sorry, I just wrote some names down. That's all I did. I think I talked about Sal. Sal's going to do some awesome stuff this year. I think there's some neat things coming that he's working on, and maybe we'll hear a little bit about that when he takes a minute to join us. You know who else I think is going to have a good year? He's back in the game. He's back to working his health back into great shape, and that's Peter Carey.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think Pete's going to have a great year. I'm really, really happy to see him getting back into it, and I think he's got some good things going on family-wise and some other stuff. So high five, Pete. Look forward to seeing you a bunch this year and seeing what you come up with over the coming months.
Hey, I'm going to throw out Lucas Burnley. I know that seems kind of weird because he's not gone away, but we talk about the fixed blades. He's bringing back fixed blades, which is super exciting for me. This last year he started bringing some new designs out, and I don't know. I think it's cool. I'm excited to see more of that.
Mm-hmm. I saw an Instagram post from Maddie's talking about how they're going to move again.
Yeah, they're moving to Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, so we'll have to get him back on and talk a little bit about that. That's pretty interesting. It just feels like they just moved out east. So
no, it's been I think 3 years. I think.
Has it really?
And they're also having another boy.
Yeah, That's a big deal, man.
Congrats. That's exciting.
Yeah, good for them. We'll have to have Lucas come back on and talk to us. I think he's got something cool cooking. We'll have to hear a little bit more about it.
Oh, yeah.
Sean, you got anybody else you want to shout out? I know you think very highly of this guy too. What about Luke Swenson?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, man. I figure it's just a given that Luke's going to kill it, so I wouldn't even mention him. But yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree. Luke's got a lot of stuff going on. He's retired from his previous career. He's working on knife stuff now, big time. Got a new shop, and I know he did a little liner lock last year. He's, I think, interested in playing around with more of that stuff and starting to stretch outside the box a little bit. He's been a very straight up traditional guy, but I think he's going to have some cool stuff happen this year. So definitely keep an eye on Luke Swenson. He's got some good stuff happening.
We need to get him on here.
Yep. I talked to him. He's going to join us later on this year. So maybe here in the springtime or something.
Awesome.
Yeah. That'll be a good one.
That was a fun podcast again.
Yeah. They're saying again, and Birch mentioned that earlier too, because we recorded the show once and we had a technical problem. So we're kind of redoing it, but
whatever it takes.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to mention here as far as stuff that's happening? We got a pretty cool season 3 plan. We already mentioned a couple guests that we have coming up. We usually don't talk about those so much so far in advance, but I'm pretty excited about them. They'll be really cool. We have a number of other folks lined up as well that we're looking forward to chatting with. We got a couple of history things going on. I think we're going to do some Moran history, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be an undertaking we got to get on with here. We've been talking about it for a long time. So,
Mark, you want to mention the challenge coins?
Yeah, we showed some challenge coins a little while ago. We need to get our act together here. We're going to engrave some of them for some special folks. We're going to have some available for sale. So keep an eye on the Facebook group and on the Instagram page for Mark of the Maker, and you'll get a little bit more information here as we get those ready to roll out. For sure, we've promised some folks in our Patreon as thanks for their support that they're going to have first access to those. So if you really want to make sure you have one, Patreon's a good way to do that. We do have a pretty good run of them, so I don't think it's going to be a problem, but those guys are going to get first shot at them, and we got to work through that in a couple of specific details there. But yeah, we'll have the challenge coins out to you shortly, and they came out great. I think they turned out really nice.
Oh, yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, season 3. There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen this year. We got to go to Crime Knife Camp together this year.
Mm-hmm.
We do our first in-person live recording. That'd be super fun to do.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out a time to do that.
Hopefully it doesn't coincide with the 24-hour challenge.
That's the sucker punch right there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, guys, come on down.
That would be awesome. Dude, we got to do that.
Come on down, guys. Okay, Michael, you can stand there and hand me blanks. Sean, you can stand over there and stack the blanks. Mark, you can run the camera.
Oh, no. I'm going to sit there and judge the finished product, and if I don't deem it worthy...
Chunk in the trash.
Michael wants to be the plunge adjudicator.
I want to be the challenge destroyer of dreams.
Man, that ain't even nice at all.
No.
All right. Very interesting conversation. Good way to wrap up the year and kind of kick this one off for the new year. And even though we did it twice, hopefully it was an enjoyable show. People would like listen to it. High five to all the Patreon supporters. Thanks for supporting us so well. We always have great interactions with people in our Mark of the Maker Facebook group. So if you want to get in on the conversation and participate, oftentimes, like we've said before, those things make it onto the show. So if you want to be part of the action, the Facebook group is a great way to do it. We do have a great Instagram following as well. So thanks everybody for following along with us and listening along with us and hearing the stories, because that's what this stuff is all about. And a big piece of what we're trying to do is get that message out there. So as usual, thanks for listening.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, all.
Thanks, everyone.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine on the web at crineknives.net, in his Facebook group, Crine Knives, or in his Instagram account at Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram at birchtreeblades. For myself and the Raygun Bead Project, we're on the web at raygundivision.com. We have a Facebook group called Raygun Division, or my personal Instagram at msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or some discussion about the show itself, you can find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram at Mark of the Maker. Last but not least, the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. Thanks for listening.